Hello friends, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So I'm going to talk about an important topic today and quite interesting as well. So I'm going to showcase you all kind of testing at one place, all kind of testing at one place or testing hierarchy. So it's very important video for everyone, whether you are new to the software testing or already you are working in software testing. So this is very important video guys, and yeah, it's interesting too. So without wasting much of your time, so I'll take you to my system and let's get started. So guys, if you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. So guys, this is the complete hierarchy of software testing, and here I have mentioned all kind of testing over here under different levels of testing. You can see here unit level testing, integration, system and acceptance level testing. So I have tried to list it down all possible testing which are available in software testing over here, and here if you scroll down you can see testing methods. We have white box testing, black box testing and gray box, and we have some other testing as well. So guys, I tried to make all possible testing whatever we have in software testing over here. So please leverage this opportunity and watch this video till the end so that you can learn something from this video. And if you need this diagram guys, if you want this hierarchy, then please let me know your email ID in the comment box of this video, and also mention if you have any questions over there so that I can answer you. So if you talk about any in software testing, like we have 4 levels. So whenever we do testing, whenever we perform software testing, so there are 4 levels we have to go through. We have unit level testing, we have integration, we have system level and acceptance level, and uh, this is the flow which we do. Firstly we do unit level testing, integration, system and acceptance level testing. Now let's talk about unit level testing first, and I'll go through all kind of testing which I have mentioned over here in a brief guys today. Briefly I'll talk about each level of testing, whatever testing I have mentioned over here, and in coming days I'll talk about them in detail. Like I'll create a separate video on unit testing, under which what are the techniques we have. I'll talk about integration testing as well, system testing. There are different testing under system testing. I'll talk all about them, and then we have acceptance testing. So I'll talk about them in detail in coming videos. So today I'll go through what are the testing I have mentioned over here. So let's get started. So what do you mean by unit testing? So basically, whenever we get the requirement from the customer, whenever we develop any software, so developer will not develop the software as a whole. What they will do is they will divide the task into different modules. So let's say we have different modules. We are developing different modules. So module A, we have module C, D, and C and D. We have A, B, C, and D modules. So what developer will do as part of unit testing? So first they will develop module A, and they will do unit level testing on module A. So basically they will check internal structure of the program, and then they will test the functionality whether this particular module is working as per expectation or not. So that is what they will do as part of unit testing. Similarly they will do for module B, and so on for module C and D as well. So this is what a developer will do as part of unit testing. Now, what are the different techniques we have as part of unit testing? So we have structural techniques, we have functional, and we have error-based techniques. Now let's talk about them in brief. So in structural techniques, guys, we have again 4 types. We have statement. So what do you mean by statement? So basically, let's understand like what do you mean by structural techniques. So basically, what happens is we verify the internal structure of the program under structural techniques. So the name itself says, right, structural techniques. Now there are 4 types under structural techniques. We have statement testing. So what we verify under statement? So here we testing each line in the program at least once. So that is statement testing. Moving on to condition testing. So what we verify? So we verify the conditional statement working correctly or not. Like we have if else, we have different loops like for loop, while. So we'll verify whether they are functioning correctly or not. all the loops is all the conditional statements. Moving on to branch testing. So what we verify here, so basically we verify all the branch statements are working perfectly fine or not, like nested if else, nested for loops, and other loops. Okay, so we verify all the branch statements whether they are working perfectly fine or not, working correctly or not. And if you talk about path testing, what we do here, so testing the flow of the execution of the program is tested under this path testing. So these are the four types of testing under structural techniques, guys. Now moving on to functional testing under unit testing. So what we do in functional testing, so basically this is kind of black box testing where we don't bother about the internal structure of the program. We do test the functionality of the program. So some kind of functional testing which we perform as part of this unit under functional testing under unit level as well. Developer, as I have discussed earlier, like they will verify whether that particular module is functioning correctly or not. So that is part of functional testing under unit testing. Now if I talk about error based testing, so what do you mean by this error based testing technique? So what happens here is intentionally developer will put the defect in the software in their code and verify whether we are getting the expected outcome or not, expected error message or not. So that is what they do as part of this error based testing technique. And yeah, this is also called error seeding or defect seeding as well. And there is one more testing, guys, mutation testing. So what happens here is we change the specific developer change the specific components in the source code to ensure that a software test suite will be able to detect that changes. So that is part of mutation testing which developer will do. Now if we talk about integration testing, moving on to integration testing. So what happens in integration testing? So there are a couple of types. We have big bang approach and incremental approach. What do you mean by integration first? So integration is nothing but the combination. So once all the modules are combined together, then we do integration testing. Once all the modules are combined together, then we'll do integration testing. So in big bang approach, what happens is when we test all the modules together, like module A, B, C, and D, when we test all the modules together after integration, so that is big bang approach. And if you talk about incremental approach, what will happen? First we'll integrate module A to B, and then we'll test it A and B, and then again we'll integrate with module C, and we'll test module A, B, C together, and then we'll integrate with module D and we'll test all the modules together. So this is how we test under incremental approach. Again, there are three types of incremental approach. We have top down integration, we have bottom up integration, and mixed or sandwich integration. Here we have mixed or sandwich integration, and we use stub and driver as part of mixed or sandwich integration, guys. So again, this will be a separate topic, incremental approach, which I'll discuss in a separate video. Now moving on, system testing, guys. So most of the testing are done under system testing which we perform. So basically we do manual as well as automation testing as part of system testing. And yeah, we can divide system testing into two parts. We have functional testing and non-functional testing. So what is functional testing? So basically we do black box kind of testing where we don't bother much about the internal architecture of the system, internal structure of the system. We mainly focus on the functionality of the system. So these are the different testing under functional testing which we have kind of user interface testing. So the first testing is user interface testing. What we verify as part of user interface testing. So let's say we have a web page, let's say login page. Here we have different objects like username, password, different fields, username, password, and forget password and all. So and submit button or forget password. So these are the different UI element on the web page. So we'll verify all those elements are available, are present in the web page or not. So that is part of UI testing. Now, if I talk about object property testing, object properties testing, so what we verify here. So let's say we have different fields on a web page, and we'll verify uh, like which field are enabled or disabled, the properties of particular field. So that is part of object properties testing. So we'll verify as per the requirement a particular field is enabled or disabled. So that is part of object properties testing. If we talk about error guessing testing, so what will happen here is this is kind of negative testing where we'll put invalid condition in the software, invalid condition in the application, and verify whether we are getting the expected outcome or not, like expected error message or not. So that is part of error guessing testing. If we talk about input domain, so what do you mean by this input domain testing? So we verify the data is accepted by the system, like we can enter in edit box or input box. So we'll verify as part of this, we'll verify whether system is accepted the data or not. So again, we have couple of techniques to verify this input domain testing. We have boundary value analysis and equivalence class partitioning as well. So I'll talk about input domain testing in detail. So all kind of testing, I'll talk about them in detail, guys, in coming days. If we talk about database testing, again, it's a separate topic because it's very vast topic. Database testing itself is a big chapter. So here what we'll do in database testing is we verify the data whatever we enter on the UI, whether it is saved correctly in the database table or not. We verify the stored procedure, we verify the triggers, indexes in the database. We also verify the constraints like primary key, foreign key, and some kind of database security also comes under this database testing. And yeah, so procedure as well. So these are the different kind of testing which we perform as part of database testing. Now if I talk about calculation testing, what we do as part of calculation testing, so this is mainly done in BFSI projects, like in banking project or financial services projects, or finance related projects where we do a lot of calculations. So we do calculation testing over there. If talk about link and URL testing, so this is on UI related application where we verify the particular link or URL whether it is redirected to particular URL or not. Whatever links, hyperlinks we have on a web page, whether they are redirecting to targeted a page or not. So that is part of link and URL testing which we do on UI related application, on web based application. Now if I talk about non-functional testing, so here we have usability testing. So what do you mean by usability testing? So basically here we verify the application is easy to use, easy to operate, and easy to understand or not. So this is part of usability testing. And if I talk about performance testing, so again, performance testing can be divided into different parts. So what do you mean by performance testing? So here we calculate the response time of the application. So here we have load testing. So what do you mean by load? So we gradually increase the load in on the system. So verify how the system behaves on certain load. So that is part of load testing. Stress testing is nothing but when we maximize that load into the system and verify how the system behaves. So that is part of stress testing. If you talk about soak testing, or this is also called endurance testing, guys, endurance testing. So what happens here is we'll verify the application like access the application for more than 24 hours or 48 hours, and we'll verify how the system behaves when we access the application for that long duration, like 24 hours or 48 hours. So uh, that is kind of testing which we do as part of soak testing. Now coming to accessibility testing, so it is kind of a practice to making your web or mobile apps usable to as many as user as possible. So that is kind of accessibility we test, like how many user can access the web-based application or mobile access, whether they are able to access correctly or not, properly or not. Kind of we check the response time, how they are accessing the web-based application as well as mobile-based application. If you talk about scalability testing, so what we test over here is it's kind of type of load testing. uh, so basically it measures the application scale up or down based on certain loads. So this is scalability testing. Now coming to memory leakage testing. So what happens in memory leakage, guys? So some memory got allocated during the development phase, correct? So basically uh, they forget to deallocate some memory, and the developer used to forget some to use some memory. So that is memory leakage. And how we can verify this? So we can go to our task manager, we can verify how is the usage, CPU usage of that when we use certain application. So that is part of memory leakage testing. And here basically we check like some memory is not used. So that is memory leakage testing. What do you mean by volume testing? So when we verify the data transfer between two system, when we verify the data transfer between two system, and verify how the data is flow from one system to another system, so that is part of volume testing. If we talk about compatibility testing, so we verify our application is how our application is compatible on different browsers and different operating systems. So that is part of compatibility testing. Security testing, again a separate topic which we'll discuss in coming days. However, I'll discuss about all kind of testing in detail. So let's talk about security testing in brief. So here we verify application can be accessed for authorized user or not. So that is part of security testing. And again, we have different types of security testing, and we have separate testing for security testing. We have automation tool as well for security testing as well. Similarly, we have automation tool for performance testing, guys. We have load runner and JMeter. JMeter is very popular, so probably I'll create separate video on JMeter, separate series on JMeter, which we do as part of performance testing, which we use for performance testing. And yeah, this is security testing. Configuration testing. So what we do in configuration testing? So basically in configuration testing, what we verify is how our system testing the application access on different hardware technologies. So that is part of configuration testing. So this is related to hardware and compatibility related to different environments or different browsers. Recovery testing. So in case of failure, how we recover our data in the system, how we recover data for our software, right? Let's say we are in case of our application failure, so we'll verify whether we are recover the data in the system or not. So that is part of recovery testing. Installation testing. So this testing is done just before the production. So basically here we verify whether we are able to install properly or not, whether how much space the system is taking, and in case of installation and uninstallation, whether existing system should not get impacted. That is what we need to verify as part of this installation testing. And whether we are getting the upgradation message or not for when we install the software. So that is part of installation testing. Compliance testing. So as per market standards and companies policies, where application is compliant or not. So that is part of compliance testing. Documentation testing. So as part of software development life cycle, we prepare so many documentation. And yeah, so we need to verify as part of, as name says, that documentation testing, right? So we verify documentation as part of this documentation testing. interoperability testing. So this is kind of end-to-end testing, guys. So here we verify end-to-end workflow in the system, interoperability testing. Now moving on to the testing methods. What are the testing methods we have over here? So we have different testing methods, guys. White box testing. So what we verify as part of white box testing? So in white box testing, we verify the internal structure of the system, which comes under white box testing. So tester should know the internal structure of the system and should have technical knowledge. And if you talk about black box testing, so black box means we should not bother about the internal logic of the system, internal structure of the system. We should only focus on the functionality of the system. So that is black box testing. Gray box is the combination of white box and black box. So do not worry about all these testing method, guys, like white box, black box, gray box. I'll talk about them in detail in separate video with the help of an example. Now let's quickly go through other types of testing, like we have ad hoc testing, and these are the different testing terminologies, I would say. So what do you mean by ad hoc testing or unstructured testing? So here we don't need any documentation or kind of test cases to execute this ad hoc testing. So this is unstructured testing. Ad hocly we verify all the system whether it is working correctly or not, whether the data flow and whether application is working correctly or not, so without any documentation. So that is ad hoc testing, or you can say informal approach of the testing is called ad hoc testing. Regression testing. So what will verify as part of regression testing? So let's say if we get any defect in that application, so we'll revert it to the development team and they will fix the defect. Now after fixing the defect, we verify the unchanged functionality in the system should not get impact because of that defect. So that is we do as part of regression testing. Now we have retesting. What do you mean by retesting? So let's say we have some n number of test cases to test any functionality. We have tested n number of functionality. Now we got some error in for test case number 5 and 6. So what we'll do, we'll revert that defect to the development team. They will fix the defect, and again after fixing the defect, we'll verify those two defects, two test cases only, for number 5 and number 6, to make sure that is working correctly or not. Yeah, we just re-execute our test cases as part of retesting. The name itself says, right, retesting. So we'll execute our testing again. That is retesting. Now what do you mean by sanity testing? So sanity testing is a subset of regression testing. So basically, let's say if developer fix any defects, let's say we have uh, created a calculator software, and we got some defects for addition. So what we'll do in sanity testing, we'll verify some of the basic functionality whether that is working for perfectly fine or not. So once the defect is fixed by the development team, let's say addition is fixed by the development team, so we'll verify like 5 plus 7 is equal to 12 or not. We don't check further. So this is capable enough to do further testing. We don't check like 10 divided by 5 plus 30 divided by 2. Okay, so we don't check this kind of addition over here. So we'll check like a basic functionality whether it is working fine or not, and then moving for further testing as part of sanity testing. Now what do you mean by smoke testing? So here we check the critical functionality whether that is working correctly or not. Let's say we got some defect in the application, or we receive the new build in the software from the development team. Now we'll verify whether our let's say in case of web page, whether we are able to access the application or not. After putting the username and password, whether we are able to enter into the application or not. In case of Windows based application, whether we are able to launch the application or not. In case if it fails over here, then we'll revert it back to the development team. So that is part of testing which we do in smoke testing, like critical functionality, because login is the critical functionality, right? Until unless if we don't log in, we cannot go for the further testing. And here also, if we launch the application, in case of Windows based application, in case if it get crashed, so we cannot move further for further testing. So that is smoke testing. Now if you talk about parallel testing, so this is automated testing approach, guys. Parallel testing, so here we'll test uh, different system parallelly. So in case of parallel execution, if you might have heard, when we execute our test cases on different browsers, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Safari, when we execute our test cases on different browsers, so that is part of parallel testing. And basically the main purpose of parallel testing is to save the test time. So that is parallel testing. Now what do you mean by concurrent testing? So within the system, when we test some functionality which are executing concurrently, when couple of functionalities are executing concurrently, couple of processes are executing together, so that is concurrent testing. So basically what we can differentiate between concurrent and parallel is, concurrent is within the system where two processes executing simultaneously, whereas parallel between the different system, one or more system, or sorry, more than two systems. When you execute our test cases on more than two systems, that is parallel testing. And within the system, when two processes are executing simultaneously, is called concurrent testing. Benchmark testing, again, this is the subset of performance testing, which we'll discuss in separate video, guys. Benchmark testing, end-to-end testing. So when we test the application flow from beginning till the end, so that is complete workflow of the application. So that is nothing but the end-to-end testing. Reliability testing, this is again another type of testing. So here we make sure that application is able to access, like able to execute all the test cases and without defect, right? So whatever defects we have raised as part of other testing, all are working perfectly fine or not as part of reliability system. So basically we check here how our system is reliable. So these are the different testing, guys, here I have listed down, and these are very important testing which we do as part of software testing. And yeah, please go through it again one by one, and let me know if you have any questions related to any testing. And yeah, in coming days I'll make sure that I'll talk about them in detail, like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. And I'll talk about each level of whatever testing I have mentioned over here. So this is all for today, guys. So if you are new to my channel, then please subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.